Well, let's jump into our team rankings for the 2018-2019 season. This is done by aggregating all of our coaching, six-man centers, power forward, small forward, shooting guard, and point guard rankings.
Nice word.
Aggregating.
I have a college degree. Taking all those rankings, adding them up, and giving the teams a total, and then taking those totals and ranking them and listing them. I'm looking at one of the teams right now, and I think that one's going to change soon with a player leaving. But we're going to do it into 3 segments: 30 through 21, 20 through 11, and 10 through 1. And let's start off at 30. The team that is ranked 30 through our rankings, the Cleveland Cavaliers, went from I think 8 last year, with LeBron being the only player I think in the top 5. Or K-Love,
6
all the way to.
They were 6
last year, all the way down to 30. Then at 29, we have the Charlotte Hornets. At 28, we have the Sacramento Kings. At 27, we have the Orlando Magic. At 26, we have the Memphis Grizzlies. At 25, we have the New York Knicks. At 24, we have the Brooklyn Nets. At 23, we have the Atlanta Hawks. 22, we have the Detroit Pistons. And at 21, we have the Portland Trailblazers. I'm going to just say the Trailblazers, but the Portland Trailblazers.
They are from somewhere.
At 21. So the team that I think we should start off with is the team that is the only playoff team. Well, 2 playoff teams are in this ranking, but obviously one lost LeBron James. The one playoff team that I do want to talk about is the Portland Trailblazers. Being in the lower third of this ranking, kind of shocking in my mind. What are you guys' thoughts?
It's straight disrespectful. But at the same time, I look at that team, and I think we were joking about it before the show. It's like it's Dame, CJ, and Nurkic. The rest of them are scrubs. Yes, you're NBA quality players, but you are some of the worst at your position. You have not done enough to distinguish yourself as Mo Harkless, Ev Turner, those kind of guys. It's just not there yet. Yes, I want to be excited about Zach Collins. Yes, you're up and coming guys in the draft who I liked your draft, but you added more depth at the guard position, and I want to shake you and be like, what is your plan here? What? I don't understand what the Blazers are doing.
Well, and this is a team last year too that was 19. So it wasn't like they took a huge drop. And the thing is Dame and CJ, they went up.
Honestly, on the upside, your 2 best players are at the most important positions in the NBA right now.
Yeah, and Nurkic, I think, is at the same spot as well as he was last year. And the only thing that changed was Terry Stotts, which I think is fair, going down because of his performance in the playoffs.
Right.
He got rolled by Gentry. They got swept because of his lack of changing.
He couldn't adapt in the game.
Yeah, with the way they were guarding
an entire
Dame
series.
And CJ with Rondo and Drew. He wasn't changing, and Stotts took a fall because he consistently has been performing in the playoffs, and I think it's fair. It's weird not seeing, but again, once you get past Dame and CJ, it's like, who do you have? You're a deep team, and you perform well, but again, you haven't been performing in the playoffs, and you aren't really loaded with stars. This isn't a team that has crazy great talent. They have good talent at 2 important positions, but outside of that, Nurkic isn't really getting anybody crazy. He's a good player, but I don't think it's a superstar written over it. But the Blazers at 21, they'll probably still make the playoffs. But again, this is based on our rankings.
They're fringe.
I said probably still.
I know, but
say they will.
They're hedging that bet. I know.
That's the reason why I feel like
saying our playoff predictions.
No, I know, but I mean,
next week.
That's why I feel like having them in this bottom third is. I know when Dave says, "Oh, disrespectful," I don't think it's disrespectful at all. And the reason being is, if you look at it, even if they were the very worst playoff team from both conferences, they'd be the 16th best team. That's not far off from where we had them last year. That's not really that far off from where we have them this year. And I mean, you look at the West, and yes, they were the 3rd seed, but I don't think they're going to be the 3rd seed again. Yes, that the 3rd and 8th seeds were separated by 2 games last year, so it wasn't that big of a gap. But you've got teams like the Jazz are going to be better. I think the Thunder stay right around where they are. Pelicans stay right around where they are. Spurs, without Kawhi, make the playoffs. They had DeMar DeRozan, who's probably going to play the whole year unless, knock on wood, he doesn't get injured. And then the Timberwolves, they're probably going to get worse, might not make the playoffs. You also have it that the Nuggets, they were a fringe playoff team. The Clippers could be in the playoff hunt. And a dark horse could be the Mavericks. Yes, the Lakers too, because they added LeBron. That's about 4 or 5 teams that could also be in the playoff hunt. Oh, and one other team that's in this ranking who could also be one if they stay healthy, the Grizzlies. Mm-hmm. There's just so many teams that could be in the playoff hunt.
The entire West there. Give a point.
And it's close. And what I'm saying is they're probably not going to make the playoffs because there's so many more teams that are going to be playoff hungry this year that they just won't because I have the Lakers automatically in the playoffs just with having LeBron. I don't care what seed it is, they're in the playoffs.
Right.
And the Nuggets, I think, even make the playoffs this year compared to last year. There are so many other teams that could jump in and take their spot, even though they were at 3 last year.
Well, and a big thing, too, is they were a streaky team. And we look from February 14th, Valentine's Day, all the way to March 18th, they didn't lose a game. They're on a crazy long win streak there. They had wins over Golden State. They had wins over the Clippers. They had wins over the Cavs. They had wins over Golden State twice, actually, the Thunder. So, I mean, they were beating Jazz even at Utah as well. They went on a 13-game winning streak, and that was the large reason why they jumped so high. They got on a hot streak, and that was the reason why they were third. So we look at, again, what they did last year. It wasn't like they were dominant throughout the whole season. They got hot at the right time near the end of the season and went on a great run and beat some really impressive teams. Golden State twice. Again, like I mentioned, I think a couple playoff teams in there as well, like Minnesota. They went on a hot streak. They took advantage of Minnesota having Jimmy Butler out. It was a nice run, and that was why they're in there. I don't think, again, they were world beaters. We're not seeing them as a for sure top 3 team. And if you're not a top 3 team in the West, again, you are in that 4 to 11 spot, really, because that West is so tough. I think this is, again, a team that has talent at those 2 spots, but outside of that, if Dame and CJ get shut down like they did in the playoffs, or in times when they did get shut down in the playoffs, who are you going to go to? Evan Turner?
They literally don't have another option. That's the biggest problem. Is their depth at the 4 position is really terrible. Evan Turner, Mo Harkless, and Al-Farouq Aminu are all okay players, and that's Al-Farouq Aminu is a defensive player. He's good. He can hit some shots at times. Mo Harkless, got paid and has seemingly not gotten much better. And I just wonder if it's a case of they're in a position where they rely so heavily on Dame and CJ that they're not even given a chance to let's get some minutes to some people, or let's change shot opportunities. Let's change the way we do things. Or are they just we have to win games, and we win games because Dave and CJ are better than everybody else, pretty much. Let's just give them the ball as much as possible. But again, like I said, the draft confused me because then they went and grabbed a shooting guard and a point guard, basically. And it's great, so you got more guard depth. That's totally what you needed.
And they brought in Seth Curry as well.
Yeah. And Sauce Castillo. They can't... I don't understand. You have 5 shooting guards, 4 shooting guards and 3 point guards. You don't have a quality starter at power forward. I'm sorry, Al-Farouq Aminu he should be a bench guy. He should be in that same range, a la Luke Mamute. He's one of those guys who you want on your team in the playoffs in limited minutes because he can contribute and he's reliable and you know what you get out of him. But you don't have someone else who can turn it on for a game. You don't have that on this team.
And the guys that you mentioned too, Evan Turner, Al-Farouq Aminu, and Mo Harkless. You look at again trying to take over games. Out of those 3 players, 5 times they scored over 20 points.
Jeez.
So there was 22-point performance, and none of them are over 22 points.
Yeah.
Mo Harkless had a 22 and 21-point performance. Evan Turner had a 22-point performance, and Al-Farouq Aminu had a 24 and 22 points. So my bad. Farouq Aminu did have a 24-point performance, but that's the highest they got outside of Nurkic, Dame, and CJ. There wasn't guys that were able to turn it on for Portland, and that's going to be difficult when they're going to game plan like that, and Stotts doesn't change it. So, again, there's talent on this team, but with the West, it is very feasible that they will not make the playoffs this year. It's possible. It's in the cards. So, Portland, again, outside of the 2 studs, it's tough to really rise up in our rankings, and with that, there isn't a lot of talent from 22 to 30. And probably the most talented team on this would be a team that Dave said is going to make the playoffs in the Memphis Grizzlies at 26. Are you shocked that your playoff team is this low, Dave?
No, I'm not shocked because I know that it's very hard to believe in a team coming back from basically a G League season where you had drama, you had your head coach fired, you had Marc Gasol basically just pick a fight with the front office over it. I understand there was a lot of trouble last season, but
injuries too. I don't know if you mentioned that.
I didn't even mention the injuries. That's what led them to the problem. So if you can get a healthy Mike Conley, healthy Gasol, the young Jaren Jackson Jr. out there who I think can contribute right away, you have the right pieces. Obviously, you lost Tyreek Evans. He was awesome, but he was also probably his numbers are going to dip hilariously back to reality because he actually has a team around him again, so he won't be able to do the stupid shit he was able to do last year.
But he might be still efficient and helpful to the Pacers.
He'll still be a good player. I'm just saying, don't expect 25 and 5 again.
Yeah.
That's just not going to happen. But what this team does have is they've got some good depth. They added in Slow-Mo. Slow-Mo is the one I'm thinking about. So they added him in. I think they've got a lot of really interesting pieces, And if they can continue to get a step or two out of the younger kids, they're going right back in the playoffs. Like, they take that 1 year off because of injuries, and they're a tough team. They've got veteran leadership. They've got everything I want.
We're not adding playoffs
They're not
into
world
this
beaters,
yet.
but,
Playoffs are going to be next time. But at least you see the vision or the possibility of Memphis making the playoffs this year.
With me, yeah, as an 8 seed if possible. Like, they're not a lock in the playoff for me, but if they stay healthy, they could be. I could see them as the 8 seed getting bounced in the first round by either the Warriors or the Rockets next year in the playoffs. The one thing that I think is, and this team is kind of like the Grizzlies in a sense, and I'm not going to say like, oh, mad disrespect, but a little disrespect when you were like, oh, there's not a team like that from 22 to 30. I think the Pistons are a team that are much in the same boat of like a Grizzlies, where it's they had Dwayne Casey. You only do that because you want to make the playoffs in an Eastern Conference that is vastly different than the West. And they're a team that even if they are 7th, 8th, or even 6th in the East, they're a team that could be a playoff team just because they changed head coaches.
And one thing that I did realize, too, this is going back to the Thibodeau, Jimmy Butler talk. Stan Van was basketball president of operations and a head coach as well. And that obviously didn't work out. He tried to trade for Blake Griffin mid-season, didn't end up working. I understand that the talent's there for Detroit, but I can't put my faith in Detroit again. I did it in 2016. It didn't come to fruition, or was it 2017?
2017.
It was right after that. What?
Yeah, so it was 2 years. 2 years of hoping they would, continue to grow, and Reggie just hasn't.
No, and he hasn't been able to stay healthy.
Hurt.
I don't know who they're really going to be riding on at the guard position.
Luke Kennard
is not a guy who's going to be able to take him to the playoffs. So I mean, you're looking at Blake.
Yeah.
Well, you're looking at Blake, and Blake's a fantastic player, but again, they weren't winning games with him and Drummond last year. Like they didn't change. Like they weren't like going on win streaks. I think they were the same team that they were record wise before they traded for Blake. They have talent on that team, but you also got rid of Tobias Harris, who was still a good contributor. I like Blake and I like Drummond, and they're a great duo. But I don't think adding Casey to that team takes them over that hump.
Don't make me say it. Don't make me say the phrase I love to say about the East. It's the weak East. Oh. And if they're like, just by adding Dwayne Casey in what the East will be this year, I could see them being a 7-8 seed. And all you got to do is make the playoffs, and then anything can happen.
Next time you're sick, we're not going to replace you. We're just going to do a soundboard.
All right.
Just play like Weak East.
That's what it is. It's the Weak East. Like
they don't have a true small forward. Like Stan John experiment is dead. Let it die. Let him walk away from the game pretty much at this point.
Let him walk away. Your career's over.
I wouldn't re-sign him.
Z might be coming after you because I believe the Stanimals in Arizona boy.
I don't care. He can't shoot the ball. Like
Could he be a Mo Harkless?
No, because Mo actually can shoot.
Could it be an Al Camino?
I love the look on
He can also shoot.
Right.
What if he could be a bad Al Camino?
He's like if you took Andre Roberson, but then instead of hands, he'd be wearing mittens. It's like, how would he?
So he's got the softest hands in the game, is what you're saying. He's wearing mittens.
Yeah, but he can't actually shoot it because it's the 4-1 mittens. So he's doing this. He's got that might improve his shot actually.
That would make sense for him. He's got the state of Michigan on his hands, Dave. The state of Michigan. That's how much Detroit he is.
I want them to be a good team. You're right, but Blake and Drummond is not going to get you to a real playoff contention. Yes, Dwayne Casey is great at winning regular season games, but he also had 2 All-Stars up in the North, so I don't expect them to. And
up in the North.
But those 2 All-Stars were at the guard position.
Yeah.
Now he's got a power forward and a center. How do you win? How do you get to the playoffs? How do you win 45 games in the East with a power forward and a center, basically? That's the question. That's what is it doable? Maybe. But I'm not putting money on it.
Yeah. And the thing, too, with this whole talk about the weak East and just with the Pistons and everything, 7 of the 10 teams in here are from the East. And, and 2 of the 3 teams in the West, we have talked about making the playoffs. And the only team we haven't is the Kings. Who aren't making the playoffs.
Because they're the Kings.
And this is, the Kings, too, is you look at them and they're just extremely young. And that's why they're here. And that's why most teams are here. I mean, outside of the Pistons, outside of the Blazers.
Literally the Kemba.
Yeah, outside of the Pistons, outside of the Blazers, outside of the Hornets, all these teams are extremely young. And the Grizzlies, all these teams are extremely young.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think it's to be expected, but also the biggest problem I see is you mentioned all these teams in the East, and it's like, all right, you're young, but when's the talent going to kick in? When are we actually going to see results on the floor? Like, I know I want the Nets to be good, man. I really do. I really want them. And when you said in the last segment, we were talking about Jimmy Butler, you're like, don't do it. Don't make the move. Keep building. Keep drafting. You're making the right steps. I'm like, yes, I want to see a young core of Dinwiddie, LeVert, D'Lo, like go out there, and I want to see them play together. I want to see that group grow together. So I think that's the team that I'm highest on out of the East. I think it's hilarious that the Hawks are higher than teams. Like, we be honest, like the Hawks are a terrible team, and
I don't even know how. Like, well, I think it's really it ends up being they have a good 6-man, and then they have they have a good 6-man, and then they have decent players at the 2, the 4, and the 5, kind of.
Well, their 6-man was Jeremy Lin.
Yeah.
So that kind of
and that was people even said we had Jeremy Lin too high. So I mean, the Hawks should probably even be lower.
And I mean, Kent Bazemore. He was at 18 in our shooting guard rankings. So I mean, that kind of boosted him up a little bit.
I don't know. The team that's not in this grouping that finished at the bottom of
the Suns.
Yeah,
I don't know how the Suns are 19.
It's because we're high on the talent. We're higher on the potential for their head coach. We'll get to that though later.
Next time.
The last thing you said you want the Nets to be good.
Yes.
I can't help but think, and it's not this bad because they haven't gone they haven't gone winless in a season. But I always see the Nets in the NBA the same way I see the Browns in football, where it's like one thing is going to be constant. The Nets are going to be bad, just like in football. And it's changing a little bit now.
Yeah.
And it could be changing for the Nets, too. But the constant has been since, they had Kidd and stuff, and we're in the finals. It's just, the Nets are just going to be bad.
That's the thing, is that I've actually seen the Nets win something in my life, and I have never seen the Browns win anything in my life.
We saw them win on Thursday. There's that.
First time in 654 days or whatever it was.
It's Baker time, baby.
Nets have been
it's Brady-like.
Nets have been to a finals before in my life. So there we go.
It's true.
The Browns haven't done shit. And again, the Nets, they just got screwed by that one trade.
Yep.
That one trade.
Franchise changer.
A horrible move. And it's something that is still haunting them. But I don't know if they're the team I'm the highest on, because I think you still have to throw the Kings in there. Because you look at De'Aaron Fox. I love De'Aaron Fox. We look at Bogdanovich, great player. Buddy Hield, again, he had that one half of a season after he was traded for Boogie. We were like, oh my God, this kid might be a great stud.
I mean, yeah.
And we look at Marvin Bagley, we look at Harry Giles. There's a lot of question marks, especially with that health and with that team. But the talent and the
they've
potential
got a chance to make
there.
a big jump in this next year. Yeah, like at this time next year, do I think that if you ask me like which one of these teams isn't in the 20 through 30 range, like I would target like a team like the Kings, the Knicks, and honestly, probably the Blazers again, because that's just weird.
Why did you say the Knicks so quickly?
Because it
only back in the rankings.
No, if they had a,
as he will,
because I'm thinking
Butler
if they had Butler and Kyrie, there's no way they'll probably be top 10, top 15 for sure.
I mean, also I think you said it.
KP wasn't in the rankings because I think at this point it almost looks like he's not going to play the year at all. So. And I mean they're the easiest jump, yeah.
If we did add KP, he probably would be an 18. Where was the 4 for that team? 4 was still decent because it was Kevin Knox, right? Mm-hmm. So
14 is around 14 points. He was around 14, 15 in the ranking. So KP could have been top 10.
Oh, he would have been top 10.
So that adds 4 points. So they wouldn't have gotten out even if KP was in. KP would have to be like
1 or 2,
which he wouldn't have been.
Yeah, no.
He probably would have been like 3 or 4. It would have been close though.
Yep.
Yeah. But
it could have been 22, 21.
But also, if we might have moved then
Kevin Knox
to the 6 or to the 3.
Yeah.
So
or another team gets knocked down. It's complicated.
Knicks are definitely
so many numbers.
Knicks are definitely a team that could jump into the top 20
next year. It's just I don't know the Kings. I think it's too early to say that they're going to make it out of this grouping next year.
I would put.
I wasn't saying that. I just think they have the most potential.
I would put the Hawks at a greater chance than the Kings.
I disagree.
Mainly because if we see like Trae Young blow up this year and make a huge step into next year, then that could be a reason why they move up next year.
Well, I do think he's going to blow up, but the bad connotation.
Oh
no, but if
if
it's good, then obviously they'll move up into the top.
What's the record for most missed 3-pointers in a game and in a year?
I don't think the Rockets said it last year in the Western Conference Finals. I think, this is just a boring group of teams. Let's be honest.
Are you kidding me? It's not boring. You've got young talent, you've got disappointing teams, and you've got the Cleveland Cavaliers just holding it.
I feel so sorry for Kevin Love.
And you have bad contracts in the Grizzlies and the Hornets.
I feel like
it's true.
That's the one thing I gotta say. I look at the numbers for the Cavs and like I see that 27 and I go, God, I feel sorry for Kevin Love. Like he shouldn't be on a team that is dead last in our rankings.
And could you imagine getting drafted by Minnesota and then being like traded to Cleveland of all places, and then being
to
like,
play
all
with
right,
LeBron.
but not just play with LeBron. You have to work for LeBron.
And you're the
much.
scapegoat for LeBron.
You're the scapegoat of LeBron, and then you get
He got his ring.
You got the ring and the cash.
Yeah.
But then you're
And his
also
wine,
left
his
without
champagne.
LeBron. You're left without Kyrie, and now you're just stuck in Cleveland.
I'm telling you, I could see him reverting to Fat K Love so easily.
I'd love it if he was still skinny, fat K-Love.
Oh, skinny, fat K-Love? Yeah,
because I don't think he's going to get fat again, but he might be good fat.
I mean, hopefully not, because I'm pretty sure that also is like a mental thing too. So no. Hopefully he stays healthy. Hopefully he
he's also
gets
a
traded off
good-looking
his
dude.
team.
So I
he's
think
incredibly good looking.
He should stay skinny.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy's got model looks.
He's right in that range with who's the guy you hate on the Grizzlies? Bad contract. Chandler Parsons.
Yeah,
right in the same book.
Yeah, but
The team we
Kevin
haven't
Love can
talked
play basketball.
Yeah. Well, he can stay healthier. They're both injury prone.
I will take a healthy Kevin Love over a healthy Chandler Parsons.
Yeah, no one's gonna argue that. God.
That was my point.
Team we haven't talked about is a team with 12 starters. How have the Magic fallen so far low? Like,
because they still haven't made the trade we've been waiting for them to make. Straight up, baby.
My thing is
They're still waiting for it.
We look at their rankings, and Aaron Gordon is just he's taken off. I mean, he's up at I think it was 7.
Yep.
So I mean, shout out to Aaron Gordon for being that good.